So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself, for no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as the Lord the church. So he tells us another thing here that Jesus is doing. He says that Jesus is nourishing his church the same way that a person nourishes their body. And I'm going to come to that later. And then it says that he's cherishing his church the same way that a person cherishes his body. It says, for we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Hallelujah. So we see that he's telling us that whatever he has been talking about husbands and wives, he has really been talking about Christ and the church, that you are the bride of Christ, that you individual. Now let's look at another verse in Isaiah 54 verse 5. It says, for your maker is your husband. Who is your maker? Jesus. If we read, we see that all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That's in John chapter 1. And we see that God created everything by Jesus. Jesus is our maker. For your maker is your husband. Now, you see, this one is not talking about the corporate church. It's talking about individual. The Lord of hosts is his name. Who is the Lord of the hosts? Jesus. And thy Redeemer. Who is thy Redeemer? Jesus. The Holy One of Israel. Who is the Holy One of Israel? Jesus. The God of the whole earth shall he be called. Who is the God of the whole earth? Jesus. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So this husband that is our husband is Jesus himself. So let's look at another verse in Isaiah 62 verse 5. For as a young man marries a virgin, so shall your sons marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you. As a bridegroom rejoices over his bride, so does Christ rejoice over you. As a man, a husband is excited about marrying his bride and being with his beautiful wife, so is Christ excited about you as a believer, because we are his bride. And then Paul says to the Corinthians in 2 Corinthians 11:2, for I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. I have espoused you to one husband, Christ, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. This is Paul talking to this Corinthian church and saying, I have espoused you to Christ as one husband, to Christ as your husband. Of course, he's talking about the whole Corinthian church, but he's also talking about the individual Corinthians as the church. Revelation 19:7, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. His wife is the church. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. This is talking about us at the end with our groom Jesus. In Revelation 21:2, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Glory be to God. So let's put this together and kind of make it clearer in understanding what I'm trying to present. That we have different dimensions of union. We saw the dimension where we are the house of God. We saw the dimension where we are the vessel. We saw the dimension where we are the branch and is the vine. Now here is another dimension. In this dimension of union, we are, but notice that all of these are pictures. They are shadows. They are analogies. They are examples of this union that we have with Christ. Now here's another one. It says that we are the bride of Christ, and we are joined to Christ just like a husband is joined to a wife. Now that is powerful, because then that means that the love, the correct love that a husband has for a wife is a picture of the true love that Christ has for the believer. The value that a husband has for his wife is the true picture of the value that Christ has for the believer. The desire that a husband has for his wife is the true picture of the desire that Christ has for you. The union that a husband and a wife partake of is a true picture, though it's just a picture, of the union of Christ and the church. The physical intimacy that is reserved for a husband and a wife only is a true picture, though albeit it's just a picture of the spiritual union and intimacy and oneness that Christ and the church have. We have this union, this intimacy, this intercourse, this depth of love that with Christ, that the best picture for that in the physical is the picture of a husband and a wife and their union. And so we look at our physical relationships and we understand there it's an analogy, it's a parable of this union that we have with Christ, where we are the bride of Christ and you individually are the bride of Christ. Now, there's something else I want to bring in here that is really important to consider, because some schools of thought have a struggle with this view of saying that we are the bride of Christ, or that we are the wife of Christ, because and the reason why they have that struggle is because in the church we have both men and women, and so it's easy for the women to embrace this idea of being the bride of Christ, because for a woman that's easy. Jesus is my husband, great. It's harder for the man, because as a man, it's difficult for you to consider that I am a bride. How can I be a man and be a bride? And that's something that I want to discuss there that's important, because, you know, I had one person say one time that how can you say that Jesus or God is against homosexuality and he opposes homosexuality, and that homosexuality is evil and homosexuality is an abomination, and in the same breath also say that you as a man, you are the wife of Jesus, you are the woman of Jesus? That means that Jesus is a homosexual. And you know, I heard that, and that was so strong. It was so I could see what he was talking about, though I felt that he was seeing it from the wrong angle, which is what I want to approach. But before I do that, I want to use another picture, which is which is not really a picture. It's real, that we are the sons of God. The Bible calls us sons of God. And so that's also easy for men to understand, because men are male. We are sons. But then for women, they'll be like, hey, but we are not boys. How can we be sons of God? Why doesn't the Bible also say daughters of God? And I've had people say, oh no, that we are all sons of God. There's no gender. Which is true, but it really is not explaining it very well. The Son of God, or when we are called sons of God, the Son of God is not a gender. Son of God is not a gender like you have male and female. In Galatians, Paul said that in this kingdom we don't have male, we don't have female. Genders don't exist in this realm of the believer. You are male or female physically, but in the spirit there's no gender. You are not male and you are not female. You know, even God is not genderized. He's not a male or a female, though we always use he. But do you know that God also has female names? He has males that have what we would call female genders, that are gendered female, because with God we don't have this. God is not a man and he's not a woman. He's neither. He's God. He is not genderized the way we understand us. That's why both men and women are made in his image. The men are made in God's image. The women are made in God's image. We have the name Adonai, and Adonai is male. It's masculine. It presents this idea of this masculine figure, the father figure, the Lord. But we also have Yahweh, and Yahweh is not a male. Yahweh is not male. The where Yahweh is coming from, this Yod He Vav He, it's a female, not even female. It's kind of like a feminine presentation of this being. This Adonai is also Yahweh, and yet Adonai is male, but Yahweh, also known as Jehovah, this is a female connotation. But I'm not even really talking about that. That's not a discussion for today. And when Jesus said, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name," and he used Abun, and he did not use Abba, he used Abun. And Abun is interesting because Abun is Abun does not directly mean father like it's translated. Abun means producer. It means the one from whom we come. It means the one from whom we originate. Abon is all encompassing. Abon is both male and female. Abon is both father and mother. Abon is the one that is bringing us forth, the one that is producing us. And because Jesus spoke that in Hebrew, in Aramaic, he did not speak it in Greek. Again, now that's another discussion. Let's come back to what we're talking about here, which is that in this union that we have with Christ, we are called the bride. And I use the picture of the son to say that the same way that this being called son is not male or female. Son is a type of creature. Son is a species. Just like you have man and you have dog and you have cat and you have angel, you also have Son of God. And Son of God is the Christ man. Son of God is any human being in whom is the Spirit of the Son of God, the Spirit of Christ. What makes a believer a son of God is the fact that inside that believer, the Spirit inside that believer is the Spirit of sonship, is the Spirit of the Son, is the Spirit of Christ by whom we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit inside you is God's Son, His only Son. And because that Spirit is in you, and that is now your identity, you are a son of God. You are a son because the Son in you is the real you on the inside of you. So son is not a gender. Son is the type of creature. Son is a species of being. Son is a type of being, a kind of being that is in the image and likeness of Christ, that has Christ on the inside of them. So even if a woman has Christ on the inside of her as her very nature, she is a son of God. That's a being. That's a type of being. So son, let me say that again. Son is not a gender like we have physical sons who are boys. Son is a type of being. A son is a person in whom dwells the Son of God, the Spirit of the Son. So if you understand that, then we bring that now to this bride. Then bride becomes easy to understand, because in the same way, bride is not really a gender. That's why the Bible never says anywhere that we are the woman of Jesus, because woman is a gender, but bride is not. Bride is a position. Who is a bride? A bride is the one that has been married to a husband. The bride is the one that a husband has married. In the physical, that ought to be a man marrying a woman. Yeah, but bride is if you have been married by a husband, you are that man's bride. So what is bride? Bride is a position. Bride is a state. Bride is a position that you have been brought into. And when the Bible speaks of us being the bride of Christ, it is not talking of us being women of Christ, because then as a man you cannot be a woman of Christ, but you can be a bride of Christ because you've been brought into this state of being married, where Christ has married you and taken you as his bride. And if you're a man and Christ has married you and taken you as his bride, you have come into this position of being the bride of Christ. You are not Jesus's woman, because then that would mean that you as a man have turned into a woman. But also remember that there is neither male nor female. You are not Jesus's female. You are the bride. Bride is a position. that we have been brought into in relation with Christ. However, again, this message, it has another message that I'm going to bring next that will make all of this make a lot more sense, because even the bride is just a picture of something else which is a reality. The physical reunion of husband and wife is a picture of a spiritual union of Christ and the church. So when we are talking of being the bride of Christ, we are not really saying that we are like Jesus's wife, the way you understand a husband and a wife. That's just a picture. That needs to sink in. The husband and the wife is just a picture. However good the relationship between a husband and a wife, it's just a picture of a deeper, greater reality of Christ and the believer in a spiritual union.